You can't be a good parent if you're not present.
Mom, are you watching us?
Sorry.
It's so important for kids to have a healthy lifestyle. Did you wash?
Yeah.
With soap? Back in.
Mom!
You have to find the funny all the time. That is not funny. Separate! Separate!
Hey, welcome to Perfectly Imperfect Parents. I am Malika Chopra, and I am here with my friends Danny Modisette and Dr. Cara Natterson. And today we are talking about lying. What do we do when our kids lie to us? Do you guys lie to your kids? What are your general thoughts on the topic?
From the pediatrician perspective, I just think it's so important for parents to be aware when their kids are lying and also not to lie themselves, because the kids will do what you do, not necessarily what you say.
When my daughter has lied before, I want her to recognize it and admit it. And we often use my husband as that foil. So we went through a situation where she was lying a lot. Finally, one day, I literally picked her up early from school. I took her to my husband's office. And that to her was like, oh my God, this is serious.
Yeah, it's like going to the detective.
Exactly. So I think, you know.
Did she cry?
She did cry because she knew she had done something wrong. And we had this conversation with my dad. I don't know what you guys thought of it.
Oh, I thought it was fascinating. I wholly support his theories.
Well, let's watch and see what you think.
So I'm interested about lying because my son actually lies. He loves to tell me all the great things he does, and then I follow up, and he's actually done none of them.
If he's telling you things that he's never done,
Yeah?
it just means he wants to do them. And you say, hey, listen, you haven't done them yet, but that's a really good thing that you're aspiring to do. There's nothing wrong with that.
But what if you're lying to cover up, or you're lying, you know, as a defense,
There's
or
a fine
lying?
line.
There's a fine line.
You know, I actually say, well, because my mother's very ill right now, and my older boy wants to always know all the detail, tell me everything, and I will say, you don't need to know that right now, rather than lie and say, oh, Grandma's fine.
It's a tough situation, but on the other hand, I think what he's asking you all these details for is only one reason. He wants to feel safe. So you make him feel safe as much as you can, not by lying, but through attention, through listening to him, through affection, to making him feel loved, which I'm sure you do, but even more so, and appreciation, noticing the strengths that he has, and keep making him feel safe, and then tell him the truth.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. I'm so glad that Deepak Chopra feels that way, because that's how I feel about storytelling, that it shows imagination, that your child is actually saying that's what they like to do to please you, or that's what they hope to do.
I think that is the most forgiving interpretation of lying that I've ever heard, because I think that there's storytelling, and then there's telling a lie.
Yeah.
Right.
And telling a lie is not okay, and it might be aspirational, but it's telling a lie. It can put you in harm's way if you're a child and you're lying.
Because I think it's a fine balance. Like,
I think it depends on age.
Yeah.
Because my 5-year-old lies
Yes.
about eating his lunch all the time.
And then it comes back full, right?
Yeah, right. Giddy in. Did you eat your apple?
I have one.
You didn't have an apple.
No.
In your
No.
lunch. No apple.
No.
It's the no apple apple.
so what do you guys think about parents lying to their kids?
So the best advice I've heard is when something happens and your child asks you a question that you are simply not prepared to answer, instead of lying, you can just say,
You can take a drink.
you can,
Little humor.
or you can say, that is such an interesting question. What made you ask me that? What you're doing is you're buying yourself time, but you're also getting to the heart of what they're asking.
Right.
Sometimes kids will ask questions about things that you think it's a much different question than what they're asking.
Right.
And so it's a great way to avoid lying. When I talk to parents, I recognize the dilemma. It's a big question, lies, you know. Did you ever drink? Have you used drugs?
Oh, right, that one.
You know, when did you first have sex? These questions where parents feel, they actually feel that telling the truth might send their kid down the wrong road. They might give their kid permission. And the problem is that anytime you lie, you put yourself in a position where if your kid figures it out, then you've lost them.
I did get high once, and I lost the time, and I will never do it again. But I was a very uptight child, which is a great contrast to my husband, who actually did do a fair amount of drugs in a normal way, whatever, experimenting. And he laughs at me all the time when I start to talk about this, because I get like, there will be no drugs. And he's like, there's gonna be drugs, and we just have to deal with it. I'm afraid that my husband is actually right, that it makes me really nervous that, you know, kids are gonna experiment, and how am I gonna deal with it? So it just makes me a little nervous, and he humors me, and it's more of a wait and see. And then
I mean, that's the thing. I do envision that my kids will go through an experimentation phase. And I know from my family, you know, my dad did it, not like on a regular basis.
So
you know,
meditating is kind of loosely interpreted.
But I think, again, it's about, and that is something where I would admit to my kids, but it's age appropriate too, right? Telling them at 8 or 9 is different from telling them at 11 or 16.
Well, so you've got this paradox, right? One option is to lock them in the house. The other option is to give them the framework, and it goes back to lying. I am not going to punish you when you tell me the truth. We are going to have a format in our house where the truth is what's going to keep you safe and healthy.
Just kind of tangentially relevant. When I was thinking about having sex when I was young, and I asked my mother about it, and I said, well, Mom, you know, do you want to know when I have sex? And she said, no. If you come to me and talk to me about it, it means that you're asking me for permission, so I don't need to know.
Well, you know, that is not tangential. That is, I think, intimately related to why parents
thank God.
don't ask. I think that's a whole a group of people carry that perspective.
I guess so.
So one of the things that we keep circling around are the different types of lying. There's obviously lying, telling a mistruth, but then there's also lying by omission. So that's leaving things out in a purposeful way in order to make your lie complete. And that's sneakier, and kids will do it, and it's important that we identify it. There's a commercial that does this, that teaches kids to do this, and I want to show it to you.
Okay. All right, well, I want to watch.
Don't tell Mom. Don't tell Mom.
It's a father lying to his children.
See, I do that all the time.
Don't tell Mom. Really...
Don't tell Mom.
Oh, no, it's the car that takes you to all the lying things.
Yeah.
Don't tell Mom?
Yeah.
The best stories you'll ever tell start with Don't Tell.
Don't tell Dad.
Wow, I don't know what that has to do with cars, but I thought it was funny.
I love it because I am always saying, don't tell Dad.
And so when your kids are 13 or 14 or 15 and the don't tell mom mantra is about all these things like sex and drugs, we love it then.
Yeah.
Right now, not so much.
No, but kids don't buy cars, so hopefully they're not watching that ad. Right? No. I do say don't tell Dad, and then I say, okay, we shouldn't keep any secrets from Dad. Forget that I said that.
Actually, that's a good point because I have said don't tell Dad, and then everybody ends up telling each other everything ultimately.
Yeah.
So it does come out. Well, great conversation. Any last parting tips or words?
Well, I think what we've discovered is you're always going to lie. So the question is, how do you handle the lie? It's the reaction to the lie. So hopefully, as a parent, you fess up.
When we acknowledge that we've told a lie, give a rationale, explain to your kids. When your kids tell a lie to you, and you say, excuse me, why did you do that? They have already built in, I'm gonna have to explain myself.
Then I would say be a role model on this topic because our children are watching us. So thank you for sharing these amazing stories, and we'd like to thank all of you for joining us. Please remember to subscribe to the Chopra Well because we would love to hear your confessions, your tips, your stories, which you can share in the comments section. And make sure you're subscribed to watch all the episodes of Perfectly Imperfect Parents on the Chopra Well.